Watchers, right, two-tier Kia has had to face parliamentary committee and the fears of disabled people, and some senior MPs have quizzed him over the proposed benefit cuts. Disability News is reporting on it. Okay, let's have a look at this. The Prime Minister has been forced to face the fears of disabled people who are unable to work and have been left feeling full of panic and physically sick at the thought of benefit cuts that could leave future claimants $3,000 a year worse off. $3,000 a year? I'm trying to work out how a disabled person whose sole income is £1,368 a year, PIP, is going to lose 3,000. Yes, that is a reality. They are people who are disabled who are getting £114 a month PIP, and that is their sole income. And it's the only income they can get. Okay, they rely on food banks. They have a card meter, so they go without electricity a lot of the time, and they'd obviously have to fill in a form to avoid paying council tax. This is a reality. Now, so this 3,000 a year figure, I presume, was plucked out of the air. They'd rather hide the fact that people are actually living on £114 a month. That's their only income. What they are really concerned, they're not actually concerned about disabled people struggling, because the Department of Worry and Persecution want them all dead anyway. What they are worried about is the public at large finding out about what's going on. Good morning, good afternoon, we are here to inform. Yes, that is correct. They are people who are disabled, who are getting the lowest PIP allowance, £114 a month, and that is their sole income. Nothing else coming in, no other benefits, because the DWP want them dead. This Labour MP, she speaks about a couple of her constituents. We'll go for another quote, I think, shall we? She told the Prime Minister of 3 disabled people who contacted her. One said, "I am beyond stressed with anticipation of losing money. I have £700 to live on this month." In light of the fact that some disabled are living on £114 a month, £700 to live on for a month, this constituent doesn't actually know how flush they are. But obviously they're not going to actually talk about the really serious stuff, where basically they're leaving the disabled basically to die. And they do know what they're doing. It is on purpose. But, I mean, £700 a month doesn't sound a lot, but as I've just said, there are some who are on £114 a month. And that's their sole income. That's what they've got to live on. This MP carried on talking. Go back to the article, I think. Owen, who chairs the Commons Women and Equalities Committee, asked Sir Keir what he would say to these 3 disabled people. But although the Prime Minister said the question of how people feel and values is really important, he then defended the policy without expressing any empathy for the fears of the 3 disabled people had expressed. Let's see, huh? Just like the Department of Worry and Persecution. They have no empathy at all. Pure evil people, utter evil people. They really are. So it wouldn't. 700 a month. I mean, like, they're less likely to die on that. I mean, like, it's better for them only be on 114 a month, which some of them actually are. Quite a few actually are. But they keep this one quiet because they don't want the public to know. I don't know if Keir knows. I mean, that's a reality. Keir started coming out with squid. He said the guiding principles of the reforms were really important, which is those people that do need support and protection should get support and protection. And those that want to bridge into work should be supported by the government to bridge into work, and that those that can work should work. Oh, okay. He said the guiding principles of the reforms were really important, which is those people that do need support and protection should get support and protection. They ain't fucking getting support and protection, are they? And those that want to bridge into work should be supported by the government to bridge into work. Okay, but if they can't work, they should just die. That's the DWP's attitude. I don't know what Starmer's attitude is, but the reality is the DWP wants to kill all the disabled people because they hate them. Gosh. He added later that the government would stop reassessing those disabled people who will never be able to work, because certainly that's something I've picked up as a constant cause of anxiety. Oh, right. Really? Well, the DWP will reassess them anyway because they want to actually put them under stress, so they're more likely to commit suicide and die, because the DWP is run by a bunch of psychopaths. So that's just something. It's just something to make it sound good. Like, basically, if I was disabled, or whatever, or on benefit, I would not take that seriously, because basically you need to be on your guard against those bastards, because they do like attacking people. They do like psychological warfare against clients. They do like to bully people, and the more vulnerable they are, the more they want to bully them, because, well, that's what bullies are like, isn't it? And this is basically what the DWP are like. And he goes on about the pathways and lum-de-lum. Right, okay, yeah. But Sakir told her we need an evidence base, but we also need to get on with the work that we need to get on to. So I'm not going to make commitments in relation to timetabling, but I absolutely take the point you put to me. We need an evidence base, but we also need to get on with the work that we need. Right. We need an evidence base, but we also need to get on with the work that we need to get on. Evidence base. After the DWP kills somebody, if it comes back to them, they go out of their way to hide the evidence that they've killed them. And basically, when an investigation takes place within the DWP, it's more to do with how they got caught and how they would not get caught in the future. We want an evidence base. Okay, so anyway, right. Let's look at a couple of responses to freedom of information requests to the DWP. Thank you for your freedom of information request. You wrote, do you have specific targets for disabled deaths, and if so, what are the present targets? DWP response, following a search of our paper and electronic records, we have established that the information you requested is not held by this department. That's interesting. Now, that was sent by me. There's another freedom of information request sent by a friend of mine, which goes into more detail, and the response is given. Here we go. Thank you for your freedom of information request. I'm requesting you below, right? The following claims cited: 150% young people. He asks about PIP, young people, and what the demographics are. DWP response: we confirm that we do not hold the information you have requested. Is that any freedom of information request that is sent to the Department of Worry and Persecution, the response is we do not have the data, or the information is not held by this department. This seems like the standard procedure of the DWP's response to FOIs. Basically, you can find out the demographics of who's claiming what. I have actually, that was what that FOI was about. I've actually sent in another one myself, requesting a breakdown of what languages are being asked for when the menu comes up when you phone the DWP, and they ask, and if you want it in English, this, if you want it in Welsh, Italian, whatever. I've asked for a breakdown of the languages. But as they're so Weasley, I'm expecting a response of the data is not held by this department. But then I guess if you're going out of your way to kill people because they're disabled, you really don't want to be leaving a paper trail, do you? They say they haven't got the data, and it all makes sense. Obviously, they don't want to be leaving paper trails about when they're killing disabled people. They don't want to leave they don't want to leave the data for that, and so they're not leaving any data for anything. And so basically, altogether, they seem plucked out of the air. I mean, losing 3,000 a month. Oh, no, sorry, 3,000 a year when they're only on 1,400 a year. These figures all seem plucked out of the air, and everything seems to be controlled so that they'll have so somebody who is getting 700 quid a month who's disabled, they'll actually speak to them, but they won't actually bother with anyone who's on 114 a month and like have to go without electricity and stuff because it really doesn't bloody look good, and people are likely to get fed up and they want to keep that hidden from the public. But the thing is, the fact of the matter is, the DWP know what they're doing. They know they're making people suffer. They want to kill all the disabled people. That's the reality. Anyway, shalom, salam, Pax Christi, Irene, Christu. See you soon.